Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the digital shadows. We're going to get right into how investigators find the secrets that people are trying so desperately to hide. This is all about the art and the science of uncovering covert communications. So let's kick things off with the one question that every single investigator has to grapple with. How in the world do you find a conversation that was specifically designed from the ground up to be totally invisible? It's this incredibly high-stakes game of cat and mouse, and one wrong move can literally change everything.
All right, let's get into it. The single biggest hurdle for modern investigators isn't some crazy, unobtainable piece of tech. Nope, it's the fact that criminals are using the exact same tools you and I use every single day. They're just using them in ways we would never even think of.
And that brings us to what is basically the first rule of this entire game. If you want to find these hidden messages, you absolutely have to understand the how. Investigators have to get inside their target's head, anticipate their moves, and really understand the systems they're twisting and exploiting.
Now here's what's so fascinating about this. This isn't all about some high-tech digital wizardry. It's actually a mix of that classic, old-school gumshoe detective work and modern forensics. Investigators aren't just hunting for clues. They're also playing a waiting game, just patiently looking for that one critical mistake. Because, believe me, even the most careful people slip up eventually.
To really get a sense of just how huge the impact of breaking a secret code can be, we've got to look to the past. I mean, this fight to control information, it's nothing new. And probably the most famous example of all comes from the battlefields of World War II.
Back then, Germany had this massive strategic advantage, and a huge part of that came down to a single, really ingenious device that they used to encrypt their most secret communications.
And this is it, the Enigma machine. This thing created what everyone thought were completely unbreakable codes. It let German forces coordinate their attacks with just devastating success, all while their enemies were listening in but totally blind to what was being said.
So here's where the story takes a massive turn. Once Allied codebreakers finally cracked the Enigma, the tables turned. And I mean, they turned dramatically. All of a sudden, the Allies could read Germany's secret plans pretty much in real time. What was once their greatest weapon became this catastrophic vulnerability. It completely changed the course of the war.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the present, and you'll see how these ideas connect. Today's criminals and spies, well, they've learned from history. Their methods are often way simpler, but they rely on the exact same principle, hiding their messages right where no one would even think to look. One of the most classic techniques is something called the email draft method. And it is brilliantly simple. Get this. Two people just share the login for one email account. Person A writes a message, but instead of hitting send, they just save it as a draft. Then person B logs in, reads the message, deletes it, and maybe writes their own draft in reply. The key is the email never actually gets sent, so it never travels across the internet, which makes it way, way harder to intercept.
And this right here, this is what an investigator might find. I mean, it looks completely harmless, doesn't it? Just an unsent message sitting in a drafts folder. But that simple screen, that could be the secret meeting spot for a whole criminal conspiracy. It's basically the digital version of a secret dead drop.
And hey, this isn't some made-up plot from a spy movie. This exact technique was used in a huge, real-world investigation involving CIA Director David Petraeus. It was the discovery of that shared email account and its draft folder that unraveled the whole case.
This whole thing perfectly illustrates what investigators call the double-edged sword. So on one hand, using big commercial services like Gmail or Outlook gives criminals a ton of anonymity and really powerful tools for free. But, and this is the big but, it also means their data is sitting on a third-party server. And once investigators identify that one account, they can serve a warrant and get access. The criminal's greatest strength suddenly becomes their biggest weakness.
So, finding that one secret email account might sound like, aha, case closed, but in the real world, that's usually just the beginning. That's where the investigator's true challenge really kicks in.
The reality of a modern investigation looks a lot more like this. It is not one clean channel of communication. It's a chaotic web. You've got laptops, burner phones, tablets, social media accounts. It's what you could call total communication overload. And this, well, this creates an absolute nightmare for investigators. I mean, just think about it. A single conversation can get shattered into a dozen digital pieces. It might start with an encrypted text message, then jump over to a social media DM, and then finish up in that hidden email draft. And every single piece of that puzzle is locked behind a different digital door, each with its own set of legal hurdles and technical locks to pick.
And that's the real puzzle, right?
A single email or a text message, when you look at it by itself, can be completely meaningless. So the investigator's job is to hunt down all these scattered fragments, feed them into systems that can map all the connections, and just painstakingly piece together the full timeline to reveal the entire conversation.
Ultimately, all of this brings us right back to the human element. The technology, that's just the battlefield. Success really comes down to the investigator. It demands, as the saying goes, the tradecraft of a spy, the mindset of a detective, the curiosity of a child, and the tenacity of a bulldog that just refuses to let go.
Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In a world where our digital footprints are pretty much everywhere, and where one typo or a forgotten password can be that one single mistake that unravels everything, how long can any secret, no matter how carefully it's guarded, truly stay hidden?